What's up, everyone? It is me, Adam Prime, and we are back for TokuBrew podcast, the TokuBrew podcast. This week in Toku, and with me, as always,
Hi.
is my lovely wife.
I'm Stormy. I'm here as usual. I'm your wife. I'm all those things.
So, this is episode 75. And we are talking about the ending of KingOhger. As you probably heard last week, we lost stuff. But this is pretty much us saying our final thoughts for KingOhger, or how we feel about it. And we're kind of a brief period away from when it initially ended. Like we said, we are 9 episodes into Boonboonja at this point.
Just in case you didn't watch the Gachard section of this, a lot of our equipment died. Yeah, a lot of our equipment died. We weren't able to catch up weekly, and we lost the footage of like the last couple
of
episodes.
Our original wrap up for this, because
we also lost our first we've done
a
commentary where it's like us watching it live and you guys can react with us. And sadly, we also lost that. I'm very sorry. I was very bummed about that.
Yeah, it had some pretty good reactions. It's too bad it is just gone.
So big sad there.
But what we do have, we actually have some nice, interesting information here. We have, not only are we going to be talking about the movie, but we actually have a director's cut of the final 2 or 3 episodes. I'm not quite sure.
Ooh, I think it was 3.
Exactly. So, and we just got done watching it, and pretty much, just to tell you what that is real quick, the director's cut, I have no idea what they added. Like, I can tell you this right now, but they made it so it flows all together and you can just watch it all at once.
Honestly, if you're a fan of KingOhger and you want to watch the last couple episodes again, it's nice to just kind of put on.
It's almost like an ending movie.
Yeah, it's like almost like.
It's funny because it's longer than the movie.
Or I feel like it's a suitable replacement if you don't want to if you're just like, I just want to binge the last couple episodes anyway, then that's perfectly fine way of doing it, honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah, do we want to start off with, let's just talk about the movie real quick.
Sure.
This is just where we meet,
Can I just...
pretty much one of the big players for the final, oddly enough.
Yeah, a couple, actually. It's funny, like, when it comes to Toku movies, whether it be Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman... I think Ultraman may be a little bit more of an exception. Sometimes it's like, there was
Ultraman at least gets epilogue movies.
Yeah, I feel like those are a little bit more whenever there's epilogue movies, sometimes I feel like they are a little bit more necessary. But when it comes to just, like, extra stuff, usually it's not that important, It's more just like, we wanted to sell more toys. And usually after we've watched a couple... Because we've talked about a few, especially for, like, the summer movie-thon.
Well, yeah, it's called Sentai movies never, unless it's a versus movie, never make the cut.
This is, like, one of the first times I feel like I can say... I'm almost kind of bummed I didn't watch this at the time of its release. Like, I felt like there was actually a point to these movies. There was actually a point to them.
But, like, it also didn't give anything away. It still let that episode after the time skip be the reveal.
It had a little bit of spice at the end to just be like, ooh, guys, check it out. Look what's coming up,
Yeah, and it's pretty much, it's Gyra's coronation.
Yeah. And, but I also, like, here's the thing, like, because we watched the ending the first time around without having watched the movie, and I have to say, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that you knew that those were people from the movie, but it's like, and we got all the context that we needed.
Yeah.
It's just like, they set it up, like, quickly and efficiently enough to just be like hey, we know you don't know who this is their deal. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then it makes sense why all of these characters enter and exit when they do in the ending, because again, that's usually what happens in Kamen Rider. They try to do a wrap up. You see everybody one more time. You see maybe some of the movie people, and I feel like it did that so efficiently in that I had to acknowledge the fact of just...
Well, and here's the thing, we get a different perspective by watching it after all the events are said and done.
Yeah, that
because
too.
This was also before the truth about the Hosty family was really revealed. So it's like, you do maybe think that Raihold is just this asshole who's just like, no, you don't deserve to be alive. I need to be alive so I can save people, so I can protect the world, because I have the biggest dick in all of Terra.
Because this is, like, before Regulus's turnaround. This is before like, you know, everything with him, because this movie took place right after he died and Gira was becoming king.
It's his coronation.
It's his coronation. So it's like, yeah, putting that into context, it like kind of like changed. I was like, oh, I wonder why it has this weird feel to it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's why, because it was going in with that context.
Well, yeah, so it's before the 2-year time skip and before he has that information about all the cast kings. And it makes you feel in this one is Reinhold less being like, I want to be alive, of being more, let me fix my biggest mistake. I just need that one last chance. Mm-hmm. And just being like, I don't want you to go through it. Let me fix it. Rather than a more villainous aspect of it. But it's still played like that. Also, this guy is just swish. Like, look at... Like, I'm going to throw up a picture of him. Like he's so... Like, he has, like, the cape.
Oh yeah, him
and
out
everything.
of suit.
Yeah, it's like, I'm almost sad we don't get to see his transformation because his armor
oh my gosh,
was the coolest shit. Like, it's like the damned souls of,
damn,
like...
man, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Like that, yeah. Like, it's just skeletons, and then he leaves his, like, rad-ass, like, skeleton beetle demon man form.
Did you notice that, like, on his arm, it's like a hand touching the skull?
Exactly. It's just so rad.
Oh, wait, this looks like a turtle on his shoulder.
That was a
I never noticed that. It looks adorable.
It looks like it's whispering sweet nothings into his ear. But, yeah, so it's like you get to see him
Toku
with the
ASMR.
Ohger. Yeah, you get to see him with the Ohger Caliber 0, and you see him decimate people.
It is.
Like, I guess we can also intermix some of our thoughts about the ending parts too. Like, all his fights are actually pretty cool.
Oh my god.
He's the first king for a reason.
He came in and he came to like chew bubble gum and kick ass, and he ran out of bubble gum. Like,
and yeah, so we pretty much do get this fight, but we also meet this girl, Devonica, who's like the in-between.
She's like the gate.
Yeah, between the land of the dead and the living. And obviously that plays a role into the ending part of the show, if you've seen it. And it's super funny because you hear that, like, Reinhold can be brought back to life if he kills her. And then you find out Gira knew her from the orphanage. And she was apparently watching him, I think is what they were saying or something.
I'm not... I don't think it matters.
Long story short, on her 20th birthday, she disappeared.
Yeah, and it was like... And, like, it showed that, like, they all waited for her. They had this
cake.
Tiny cake, and... It showed that, like, at some point...
It was one strawberry with...
Like, cut up. Don't well.
It was kind of adorable. And then, like, you obviously get her to be on Gira's side by the end of the movie. Bing, bang, boom. He gets, like, Reinhold to stop, and he's like, okay, fine. And then it ends. Actually, it ends with him being like, hey, but there can only be one king. Regulus is still alive.
Yeah, which is like, wow, because we talked a lot at one point, like, to the point where you even made a joke about it, because...
Yeah, we saw his corpse.
Yeah, like...
We saw the coffin.
No, it was like, because we had talked about so much about, like, oh, whether Regulus was alive or dead. Technically, it was in this movie, and we just, like, never had known it that whole time. I just thought it was really funny that, like, by the time you were editing it, though, we already knew everything about Regulus, so, like, you just went back, and, like, every time I remember you telling me, like, every time I talk about the fact that I think he's dead, I'm gonna, like, put a picture of him, like, on screen or something like that.
Yeah, just put the picture of him in the mask.
And then, like, you showed me it later, and, oh god, it was so funny to me.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a fine movie. It was 40 minutes long, so it's not really a movie. But
it doesn't, like, overstay its welcome, but it doesn't...
It's an extended episode,
it doesn't feel rushed, but it doesn't feel like it dragged. It just kind of felt like it's like, let's just do a little story and go, and
well, you also get to see, like, a really creepy thing between Himino and her family, like, just being like, stay with us, and you're just like, that is terrifying, stop. And then you have
Rita.
Yama.
Oh, Yama.
In his little plot of trying to get out, and he actually gets Shinoka to, like, zap and kill himself, and then he shuts the door before they can get out, and he's
he literally shuts the door, he's like, how was our way out?
You dumbass!
Also, wow, you remembered his name.
Shinoka, yeah. Curlicue. So, it's super funny that each of them had their own side plots. Like, Rita actually got to see that the dead are actually thankful for doing her job, even though they're dead.
Yeah, and that was something that I was like, why? Why, though? And, like, you actually explained it in a kind of cool way of, like, for anyone that was on my side, it was just like, why, though? Why are they grateful? I don't understand. They never explain. Like, it's like, oh, because them passing such a fair judgment upon them gave them time to reconcile while they were still alive, so that they
could end up in heaven.
They could end up in heaven? Question mark?
Yeah.
Whatever their
also,
version
there's whales.
of whatever their version of heaven is. Yeah. Also, there's whales.
They're like weird bug whales.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe them.
Bales.
But also, like, the afterlife has like this cool imagery of like all the castles and everything.
Bales or wugs?
Wugs. Of like all the kingdom's castles and everything, to the point that we actually get to go back to Kaguragi and meet the evil queen for the first time, the old lord
lady.
Yeah, of Tofu, and it was kind of our first tasting of that, and like even knowing the backstory, you're just like, ooh. Which, honestly, if you want to see our thoughts on those episodes, like, it just doubled down on those aspects. Like, I don't think I really have anything to say about it. How about you?
On them just like meeting some of their past people.
Well, yeah, like the thing with them and Tofu, like what Kaguragi was doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they kind of like played into it. Like, I like what they did because it felt about right. Like, in both, like, if we were to watch it for the first time and if we were to on this like technical watch where I know everything.
Yeah. Because
I did notice, like, their conversation made perfect sense for the dynamic that they set up. That gets paid off later when they talk about that, like, of the attitude that they are going to be going in with that.
Yeah.
But I also did notice, like, at the very end, she did smile at him. Of just, like, it's almost like you played along nice. You know what I mean?
You did the right job.
Yeah, it's like, you did good, kid. And then, but, like, I only noticed that because I knew what their dynamic was going in.
So, do we want to talk about the ending real quick? Because we kind of lost a lot of the episodes. I know we got the start of it, but let's just talk about the ending.
I will say one thing about Yama. I was kind of surprised that we didn't get to see, like, the guy that helped him out.
Gen, I think, is his
name.
Like, maybe the actor couldn't come back at the time.
Maybe.
Actually, no. I think it was before we learned. No, we already learned about him. Never mind. Wait. Yeah, we did. Okay, never mind. I thought we hadn't yet. I'm like, we might not have heard of him yet, though. They might have not had an actor at the time. But I'm thinking they did, actually, because it was Jeremy's intro, which was before the coronation, so that makes sense.
So it's just like, I don't know, I'm surprised that he didn't, like, show up and be a part of this, since that seems to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense that, like, Rita wouldn't...
She was just freaking out about ghosts.
Yeah, I think it makes sense that it's like, I almost wonder if, like, Rita also, could have been like, oh, I wonder why I didn't see...
Yama kept saying it wasn't real.
No, like, I wonder, like, hear me out, like I'm saying, like, Rita.
Yeah.
I feel like wouldn't it have been interesting if they noticed that they had a different experience in everyone. It was like, oh, I wonder why I didn't see the last sovereign. I forget their name.
Karas.
Karas, or whatever their name was. Of just, like, that leading towards the fact that they actually are alive, technically. They're frozen
slowly.
they're frozen in ice.
They're dying slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, we don't get to see her alive ever.
Well, I mean, we see her for about, like, she shows, like, maybe a line. It's, like, 4 seconds, and then she's murdered.
But, yeah, no. Also, this show straight up tricked us. And I want to say the last episode we thought... Or maybe it was the episode we left off on. Was, again, I can't believe they still tricked us to think that they left on a different planet. And it was just another setting in Terra.
Yeah, they actually did... They actually did a trailer in a way that, like... I see is I like
all the people coming together, both the living and the dead.
Wow.
Just, it was an awesome fight scene to the point where it's like, I like that it opened up where it was just the 6 KingOhgers, and you're just like, oh my god, and they're just fighting to the bitter end, and you just get this scene from Gira after he thinks that they're shot down because, like, the Galactic Insect King was like, Kame Jim did a great job. Which, I do remember we did get to talk about that bit of Kame Jim taking Bowler Hat Guy's place and getting figured out.
The fact, I lost my shit when it's like, the fact that, like, they brought Bowler Hat Guy to actually have a point in a meeting. They made even that character have meaning. Because the kids fucking go just like, that's the real one. He yells louder. And then he's just like, thank you, thank you. I'm just like, holy shit. I remember, people that haven't actually watched the show, but I, like, babble about too. I told them about that, like, the day after that happened. I was just like, they made it have a point.
And
I was just happy.
And then they finally... Through all the fighting and everything, you get to see Death Nyark and Reculus just kick
and
Kame Jim's ass. All of them.
And Jeremy. They all gave him a good ass whooping.
They all got, until he gets literally dragged to hell by Death Nyark.
Oh my god.
10 out of 10.
The line that Reculus...
Oh, yeah.
His lines of just like, there's like... What did he say? There's generations, a millennia of hatred built up behind this or something like that.
Oh,
or of,
I think I have it right here.
Oh,
I owe you more payback than I could hope to dish out.
Oh, it was after this. But
oh, yeah.
It was after this.
Well, I don't know.
I think it might have been the next like episode segment, but
I'll look.
Yeah, generations worth of like payback, I think is what he said.
Oh yeah, because it was after a Reinhold threw him back.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Now kneel," and I was just like, "Oh, God." Well, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll be delivered by the sword. A millennia's worth of
something.
Yeah, we'll be. Yeah. Long story short, it's badass.
Well, oh god, it's so fucking good. And again, Jeremy got a few good whacks in there. He also showed that he really trusted his friends because like they were the ones handling.
And Death Nyark as well. Like Death Nyark was like, "Hey, good to see you, man." And then they finally figure out with Reinhold's like last little speech of what they need to replace eternal life, and that was to use the shoe gods to put.
The shoe god's souls were going to make a container, and they were like, "What were we going to fill this replacement with?" And they did like a Toku trope in a way that suits it. It was like
devoting themselves, giving their lives to the kings.
Yeah, it's just like we give our lives to the kings. Like that we will let them have our lives essentially.
And then
and it's like all of the connections and everything, because if you think about it, it's like everything goes just so deep of just when it comes to the connections of people, of just
exactly
stories and
it was awesome. And you just see the biggest KingOhger ever, and we get this big fight that ends with pretty much KingOhger fighting so hard it disintegrates itself back to its original
the shoe gods state. Even acting on their own will as well.
And like you find out and you pretty much just see Gaira just say goodbye to KingOhger, knowing because he's giving up his life to do so, at least what we're assuming at the time. And it is so sad, but you see them go into the Galacta into King's room and just shatter the wall to infinite whiteness. And it was he was kind of amazing.
He was keeping progression contained.
In a way. And it just was so cool to see it like shatter and everything else, because it's just regular KingOhger once again, no longer like God KingOhger, just shattering and fading away. And honestly, one of my headcanons was that after this was done and they revealed to us they had their souls, they just went over to KingOhger 0, plucked out all the fake shoe god souls, plucked them in, gave them all a paint job. All good.
To be fair, they still had to get KingOhger's soul out of Gira.
I don't know if they had to get it out of him. I bet you if he just steps inside, maybe it would give him life again. I don't know. I don't know how the digestion works.
Their digestion. But yeah, it does, and then it goes back to them, and everyone is all small-sized again, and they don't even fucking hesitate.
They just kill him.
Because his like top half is finally like...
Yeah, his water bear, it just gets diced.
Yeah, and it fades away, and he fades away, and... They didn't even have a big celebration like how they did the other times. They just look tired and walk away with a little high five on the way. And I was just like, oh, go relax, my kings.
And then, like, we pretty much see, I don't know if it's like months or years later, but it's a time period afterwards. And you find out that the borders no longer exist. And, they're now trying to make all one country, and they're fighting over a name.
It's super cute.
And
I love and fucking Himino just wanted to call it. Why don't we just call it Great Ishibata? Because
I'm like,
everyone's trying to mash them all together.
Exactly, like
hiccups.
Kaguragi wants the middle specifically, but everyone's fighting. Who wants to be the front?
That's the important part.
Exactly. And then we pretty much get to see where everyone is now. We see Jeremy's leaving his gun because, for whatever reason, the KingOhgers are going to space. Maybe they're going to go help the KyoryUgers or something. I don't know.
Basically, like, what had been done before was, like, they had to immigrate to other planets and they had to take over. They had to control. They had to decimate. They had to, like, survive. But, like, with this, I feel like they're thriving. It's like they're spreading kindness. They're spreading, like... their wealth and knowledge.
Well, again, we're not exactly sure why they're leaving. They never state it.
And they never really state it. That's just kind of what I assumed, just like
why they're bringing bowler hat guys.
We are spreading, but we are doing it in a positive way rather than a negative way.
We're not leaving it because we're leaving a hole.
Exactly.
We're leaving it to explore.
I don't know why everyone leaves, though.
Not everyone. Just I feel like mostly the Shugadan people.
Yeah, I imagine just like a lot of like
because remember a
lot of the main people that we've been seeing. I imagine there's like plenty of people that probably stay since we saw an actual army of people.
Well, and we also do get to see a lot of intermingling of the different people.
Oh yeah.
And like so it's like wholesome. In Kasopa we see like Shinoka literally bringing law to a lawless land.
Yeah, pretty much. But like in a way that they respect because it's a. And obviously, like, Ishibana is loving all of the Toku food because tofu people's food because it's basically France. Of course, they would
the return of Sebastian.
Sebastian,
they were teasing it.
Possibly.
You pretty much get to see doctors at the prison.
Doctors at the prison, and also we also see each of the retainers leading the people in their own way and succeeding.
And then
especially on oh my gosh, what was her name? Rita's
Marfonia.
Marfonia, thank you. Especially her, just like she struggled so much and was just like, I don't want to do work, they don't listen to me, I can't do this job, I need Rita. But with this, it's like they are doing it, but they're doing it in a way that they want to do it. Also, and it is working, and I appreciate it, because at this point, I feel like there is a fair amount of respect between the prisoners and the guards at this point because they work together so much in this final fight.
And then we get Suzume and Reculus, who's
being the absolute cutest couple on the planet.
He burns his hand on tea.
She has little beads.
And Rita's napping.
Rita finally gets to rest.
Jeremy wrote down his story, and again, like I said, they are leaving into space. And that's, again, how they end it. And they say, don't give up on your happy ending.
Don't ever give up on a happy ending.
And it was such a fun set of episodes. And then we get to see KingOhger in a car! Did you ever want to see him drive around in a car?
I forgot about that. Yeah. It's really cute, though. I imagine he would have
driving downtown, making his way.
I forgot about that. Yeah, and that's just giving us our initial thoughts on, like, the suits and everything.
We'll talk about that next week. So expect Boon Boonja next week.
I'm just kind of just like, man...
I love Gyra's face when they're all, like, getting ready to transform. Yeah.
What a journey.
I'm probably
gonna have to, like, I'm already in the middle of, like, a rewatch.
We're rewatching it with your sister, so.
And,
we're definitely gonna have to show her the movie. Yeah, I think it's funny because we're gonna be allowed to curate all what she's watching. So it's like, we're gonna be like, oh yes, and you're gonna have to watch the director's cut. Which, again, feels a very much Lord of the Rings thing because... I'm about to say, I think we both remember right before we watched this show, like before it started, we watched Lord of the Rings, and
I almost said King of the Rings.
King of the Rings. Oh yeah. But like, it added so much to think that we got technically an extended edition, but only for the ending. I don't know if it actually added that much, or maybe it's just because it's all spliced together and it all flows really well. I have no clue what makes it a director's cut without
I feel like maybe there's
some little
extensions here and there. Like, I would have to see a side-by-side,
I would say it's the must way to watch it. It's the best way, and probably, I would say...
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Much like, I guess, some people say about the Lord of the Rings movies.
And I think it's also very funny that when I told you, it's like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be that shocked if they took a lot of inspiration from the Lord of the Rings while writing this, and you're like, oh, but they didn't have the ghosts at the end. I was like, Adam, technically they did.
Yeah, I know. We were like, oh shit, they did.
Oh shit, they did.
And it even ended 5 times like it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we always did get to see, and this is something I forgot to talk about in the movie, is I like that we got to see Himino's parents both in their king and queen regalia along with their doctor outfits.
Yeah, like we saw them in their doctor outfits. And then they got creepy. Yeah.
Then they got creepy. It got so creepy. But yeah, this was a fun ride. 50 episodes, and we still have more content. We got KingOhger and Dawn Brothers crossovers coming our way. We're definitely gonna watch those. Yes, we are. Who remembers This Week in Dawn Brothers?
God, I will never forget This Week in Dawn Brothers.
And overall, this was a ton of fun. I think the humor when it was trying to be funny, I always got a kick out of. Like, especially like the episode right before when they were all arguing about something, and like you have Reculus just being like, "You're out of here," and making weird facial expressions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Oh, I do remember we did talk about like, really appreciating the one moment where like everybody like fought super hard in the battle to give them a break.
Yeah. That was, oh my god, and Sebastian and a couple of the others were being silly. But
yeah, but in the episode before, like, they were just having a good time. And again, they repeatedly showed that, like, in that finale of just, like, putting effort into making them laugh as well.
Yeah.
And I love, I miss
so many.
But
meanwhile, I will say, here's what I will say real quick. Before we're not going to talk or touch on Boon Boonjer, but you know what? I feel like it fills the fun and what I want it to do.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be KingOhger, but it's being fun.
It was everything that, like, I was hoping it would be going in. I was just like, anytime, like, a show starts up, my only, like, bar is just, like, entertain me and make, like...
Be fun.
Be fun. Just be fun in some way. And it delivered. And actually delivered. It delivered. But,
we'll get into that joke later.
But, yeah, and then some. So...
But yeah, no.
I recommend watching that when that comes out. If it isn't already.
So, what would you say is your favorite character? Who's your favorite character in KingOhger?
Fucking hard. I didn't think that I would have a hard
also,
time.
the Boshemir moment. I'm realizing. I forgot. The moment when Boshemir and Duga kind of reunite and they're just like, oh, it's been years.
And they do, like, almost their own little Sentai.
Yeah. And they had their own little chant. It was amazing. It's just... Honestly, Reculus might be up there in my favorites, because when he was a villain, he was a fucking bastard, and I loved him.
And then he redeemed himself somehow. Well, and the fact that he also... Because I guess we kind of glossed over it. Like, he still insists on serving the time...
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's just like, no, what I did shouldn't.
The crimes I committed needed to be answered.
Atoned for.
Exactly. And Caucasus. We were wondering what the other king, because we were looking at all the names of all the kings and everything, and obviously they're all based off of beetles. Caucasus is like Caucasus Kabuto, which is the three-horned beetle. So yeah, we were trying to look at. We forgot his name, and I was just looking it up because I knew we were looking at it. I think it's funny, we saw more of the other king's face than his, and then he just started coughing up blood, and then he died. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Reculus is one of those characters to where I liked his arc and what we saw of him. And, like, as a person, and that's also why I like Gira a lot. Like, Jeremy's so good, but, like, the relationship and the older brother and younger brother relationship of Reculus and Gira as a younger sibling
fucking cute.
So close to home.
As an older sibling, Reculus's stuff hit, and I'm an older sibling, as we discussed.
Well, it's like, yeah,
it hit me really hard. So the fact that it was able to capture both of those dynamics is really impressive.
Exactly.
Like, at the same time.
Oh, we're even noticing it with your sister.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things to where it's just so surreal, and just to see how they kept, like, deconstructing and showing you why is this happening and what this is. And then, like, the fact that they allowed the Galactic Insect King to just be the villain for, like, the end of it, and the fact that we weren't getting any new bug.
Oh, yeah, he was at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah, he was, at the end of the movie.
But it was, like, before we knew who the hell he was.
Yeah. Right. But, like, the thing is, I never thought about it, but we really didn't get a ton of new monsters or anything. We didn't get, like, new monsters of the week like how we are in, like, Boon Boonjer right now, or the other shows before. And I actually do weirdly appreciate that. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's like once they kind of zeroed in on who the ultimate bad was, that's just kind of what everyone.
Well, no, I mean, like, even it was just the jesters they were using or reused Bugnark suits. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's kind of interesting. And overall, this was such a fresh take on Sentai. Like, we've never before got a time skip, let alone not be on Earth. Like, I imagine there are one or two shows that haven't been on Earth as well. Because I want to say Gingaman is also in space. But, like, it has been a long time.
I know the Q
Ranger.
Q Ranger.
They explored
They go to Earth at one point, I think.
Yes, and they stay on Earth for a little bit and, like, Earth becomes a big focal point.
Okay, yeah, but like, I mean, it was worth a mention.
But yeah, no, but they definitely do still go to space, so you do get to explore other planets. But like, yes, did it use a lot of green screen, but it was trying something, and I enjoyed what it was trying to do. It made this bug kingdom filled with wacky characters and different biomes and everything else. You know the vibe of each kingdom and what their people are like. And like, you had a bunch of side characters that you could always recognize when you go into those towns. Like, whether it be Yanma's little gang of dorks, or Himino's like French maid battalion of doom, or fucking Kaguragi's assassins, bowler hat guy and the orphans,
the little Bugnark friends.
Oh yeah, the Bugnark friend. Oh my god, the Bugnark were so cute during the end when they were like, yeah,
and then Jeremy teaching them how to have feelings,
and then them learning how to type. Mm-hmm. He learned how to type.
He was learning how to code.
Yeah, he was learning Mevis Beacon, and it was just such a fun show. Like, there's... And, like, honestly, I'm kind of glad that we can talk about it while also being into the new show, because it does exactly what I was going to talk about here, where it's like, I'm not needing it to be like this every time, and I get why we are going more back to basics for Boon Boon.
Because that was a lot. That was something really, really new. That was something very different.
And, like, yeah, and it's like, but it didn't... It lost a little bit of that Sentai feel, but not because it didn't feel like Sentai. It's because it was doing something fresh and breaking the mold. And
so it makes sense to like kind of go back to just being like, I'm car puns, you know?
Yeah.
I'm here to have a fun time, and I'm car puns. I'm just like, you know what? Sure. That's all I want you to be.
And it was a fun time. Like, there is not an episode I would really say you need to skip. There's like
KingOhger?
Yeah,
for sure. Like I feel like they didn't waste a single fucking second.
Yeah, in like 50 episodes, perfectly topped.
Like I can't. It's hard to pick a favorite episode because I don't feel like there are really any bad ones.
Well, yeah, but it's also why that makes it so hard to pick a favorite character, because then you have somebody
all
like
of them are so developed. Everyone is so complicated. Everyone feels like they get a good amount of screen time. Like they all feel unique. Like in the interactions between the two of them, the small friendships that formed. Yeah,
like the ones that you can see, like Himino and Kaguragi being a fun duo and like actually getting along together was fucking amazing. Ventura! There we go.
There we go.
Oh my god, it was just so good, and like that's why I think it works. Like, I'm never gonna say like my least favorite KingOhger does not mean I don't like them.
Yeah.
But it's just because all the other ones are so good. And so it's like I have to.
But even then, it's like if someone were to say that's their favorite, I get it. Because it's like, of course, they were developed enough to where it's like you can have like... It would make sense anyone saying that anything is their favorite because everything got a good amount of screen time.
Yeah. And it's
they
like,
treated each character of like, what if this is... Yeah.
Deathnyark is a good example of a character where I was like, oh, he's just generic villain man. But then you find out he's just as twisted and like this because of the Galactic Insect King and everyone else. Because that's how he was raised. That's how this time works. That's like...
He's scared.
It's like
he's like I act like this because I have to.
Yeah, well, it's like then you learn about like him with Tarantula Abyss, where it's like he didn't want to kill and crush everything. He needs it to be more peaceful and ready for his people. He needs to do what's right by his people, and his people's law is strongest survive, and he was not going to break that rule. And, like, the fact that you saw him, like, die so almost unceremoniously by just a laser and being dusted.
Shadowed.
Like, yeah, like, he's literally just a shadow.
But both he and Gear are earning each other's respect. In the
Even
process.
Jeremy. Even seeing him with Jeremy.
And Jeremy, yes.
Like, it was
especially learning there was a familial connection.
Like the fact that it's like it was either his nephew or his cousin.
This is like great nephew or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know how old Deathnyark was because he's pretty old too. So, but like, it's surreal how well this show developed its characters, its villains, and everything else, and also just the bastards they made, like Grody. Grody was such
disgusting.
Was so insane, and the fact that it was
the
an
leech
actor
lady,
for
still like just
Then the ninja guy, he was kind of the most there,
he was
but he was
neat. Cool for when he was around.
The dude who was most confusing was like Barunga or whatever, that big beef guy, the beefcake. Like,
yeah, I think he was like a type of mushroom thing. Like, there's, like, this, like, type of thing where you use in cooking. It's, like, a group of mushrooms. I wonder if that's what he was. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Could be mold.
But, like, yeah. And, obviously, then you have Kame Jim, who is the biggest son of a bitch.
I'm glad I saw his ass get beaten and just get dragged into the afterlife.
Yeah,
with him kicking and screaming.
I like how he didn't even explode. He just was like, he's just...
You don't even get to. Yeah, get in here.
Just, get over here!
I'm not wasting any time with you. Get in here.
But yeah, so what...
I'm gonna beat your ass for an eternity.
What was your favorite moment in the final? Because mine is either Reinhold's, like, entrance and just being like, fuck everyone.
Also being like, I'm borrowing this when he grabs the sword and then throwing it back.
And then, or Reculus and Deathnarch's combo attack on Kame Jim, because that felt so good to see. Honestly, because those are the two characters, Kame Jim, that we have seen screw over the most.
The most, yeah. Honestly, I'm a sucker for, like, the everyone unites behind you kind of moments. So, like, when Gira... Well, like, after everyone was beaten, and he thinks that everybody died because Kame Jim stopped the takeoff, and they crashed. It made me, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a sec. But, like, after that happens, and then, like, you know, everybody, like, rallies behind Gira.
Yeah, and he calls them dogs.
Yeah, it's just you rebellious dogs. And, like, in Reculus, you know, and his touching speech and everything like that, and just whenever it's, like, everybody rallying behind you, it always gets me, you know, a little choked up. And, like, also, like, when they celebrated and their return, and it's, like, you don't really get to see that a whole lot. Of, like, a Sentai or, like, Kamen Rider, heroes in general, even, like, down to, like, just Western superheroes or comic book heroes, it goes so thankless a lot of the time, you know?
Well, yeah, because it's, like, it's just, often the moral is, like, it's a thankless job.
Everybody acknowledges the fact that they have changed for the better because of them, and also just everyone coming together and acknowledging the fact that they did such a good thing, you know? Mm-hmm. It's just so, like, refreshing to see them actually get, like, a proper acknowledgement and a thank you, I guess.
Yeah. And that's kind of where this is at the end of the day. And, like, KingOhger is probably going to be one of my favorite Sentai going on in the years. Like, I don't know where it is. It definitely has to be in the 10.
This is probably one of my first favorite, just because not only is it just...
It's everything you wanted.
It's everything that I wanted.
We've talked several times throughout this show.
It's everything I wanted.
Like, it's like, because we would talk about whether it had been Saber or a different thing, where it's like, this is exactly what you talked about wanting for years. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I can't think of anything that could top this for you.
Like, I don't even think I could have written it better if I were to have made it myself.
And
like, damn.
It just was so much fun and so new and so, like, the green screen, because a lot of people were getting sold out and kind of being like, the green screen kind of wears me down. It never bothered me. There was one or two shots where I'm like, ooh.
I mean, if they had, like, a Lord of the Rings-esque budget and they could have actually made these things
every episode
look, like if they were to have, like, everything look so realistic
Peter Jackson
and beautiful,
does KingOhger.
Fucking, I would have, that would have been awesome. But you want to know what? I loved it just as much even without it, and I feel like that says more.
Well, exactly. It's so much fun, and that first episode still hits so hard.
It's so good.
Like,
good. It's almost the only other, like, opening that I could really compare it to is maybe Denno's.
Denno's is so good.
Because the thing with Denno specifically is just, like, that first episode is just so good. It's at one point. It's a thing that you just throw on every once in a while to watch.
Or you're just like, I need to show you something.
Like, hey, guys, I want to show you something funny. You know? Like, I feel like KingOhger is like that, where you can just throw it on every once in a while. Just to, like, yeah, I remember KingOhger.
But, yeah, no. So, what was your favorite suit?
Oh, my God.
Now, I'm going to tell you, that one you can actually have a better answer for outside of favorite character. Spider Kumos is obviously
are we talking,
a 10
like,
out of
just
10.
Like, their suits, or are we talking, like, monster suits, or are we talking...
I don't really know or could say, like, right... It's been a while, so it's like I wouldn't remember the monster suit, so I couldn't pick a favorite. But when it comes to regular suits...
I mean, Spider Kumos.
Spider Kumos.
Okay, like, how about costumes? Because I feel like there was a lot of effort that went into, like, the different costumes. Like, when it comes to, like, either the main kings or like I always had to like give Grody a weird like look because he just like looks so interesting. Like the hat was so big, so it's like
comically big.
It's like it's like they made that for a reason. They wanted him to have a silhouette. They wanted him to look fucking crazy and menacing, and my god, they did it. You know, that his design and everything. Like every time I see that character, it makes me feel eerie. You know.
Well, meanwhile, it's like I also love the power up of King KingOhger. Like, and KingOhger.
Jeremy's hand, I mean,
oh my
all
God.
of the love and care.
Oh, what about his chest?
Oh, don't get me started on the chest, but...
Show his boobs.
I've seen, like, fan recreations of just, like, how they think that, like, like, anatomically, like, what they think, like, his, like, torso, like, waist up would essentially look like because of that. And it's very interesting to see people's interpretations of that.
But, yeah, no, It's so funny that this was right back to back with Dawn Brothers, because that was another one where I'm like, I don't know what goes on and how it's going to be after this. And the thing is, now we know. We know right now. It's just going to continue to be fun.
It can still do good old-fashioned Sentai.
Well, yeah, it's like, and honestly, it's a
still
vibe.
Be good.
Yeah, know? it's a vibe.
But it's still itself. It's not like,
but
that's
getting
typical.
Into next week.
You know, it's not like super typical. It still has its own identity.
But, yeah.
But it just has that good vibe, you know?
Wait. Out of the of the regular looking KingOhgers, which is your favorite color palette? I do like KingOhger's silver. Because it's like the KingOhger suits outside of Kumos are about all the same. So it's like all of them are just like obviously the different helmets and the chest pieces. But like everything else is down to color.
I mean, I still probably like Gira's. That red is just beautiful. But my god is Kaguragi's black also just
black on
so
gray
sleek.
and like that in the the bee face butt mouth plate.
I just like those are probably two of the best still.
It is.
Again, if we're not gonna take Kumos into it.
Yeah.
I just like Hivano's and Rita's, but like those colors just being so rich, you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so what are your guys' favorite moments from KingOhger? Tell us down in the comments. What did you guys think of these final episodes? Did you guys watch the director's cut?
I guess we don't have to worry about spoilers since we're literally talking about the finale and like also like extra material at this point. So
yeah, and overall this has been fun.
Yeah.
We're glad that we can give KingOhger its proper send off, even though we lost its original send off.
I am so sad that we lost that, but yeah, we'll talk about the other movies when they come out, I imagine.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that on a different thing. Maybe we'll do that on this week.
We'll do it eventually. We will do them.
We'll cover it somehow because, come on, we can't. KingOhger's coming back with KingOhger, and those are very big canonically together as this show show.
Yeah.
I don't know if the sentence I said made sense, but there we go.
It made enough sense.
But thank you guys so much for listening, and
we'll hear you next time when we're talking about Boom Boonger.
Yep. Until next week.
Bye-bye.